You know, every single civilization has a creation story, but the foundational myths of China, they're not just about how the world began. They're more like a blueprint for an entire culture, a story about how values like sacrifice, duty, and harmony were literally forged out of pure cosmic chaos. So let's dive in and see how these ancient tales of gods and heroes still echo today. Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story starts not with a big bang, but with a deep cosmic stillness. Picture a universe with no up or down, no sound, no time, and it's all just contained inside a single giant egg. For 18,000 years, everything that could ever exist, light, shadow, rock, water, was all just mixed together, dreaming in this formless state. And then, the egg cracked open. Out comes Pangu, the very first being. With one swing of his giant axe, he splits the chaos in two. All the light, pure stuff floated up to become the heavens, and the heavy, murky stuff sank down to become the earth. But here's the thing, they're always trying to smash back together. So Pangu stood right in the middle, pushing the sky up with his arms and stomping the earth down with his feet. And for another 18,000 years, he just stood there, growing taller every single day, forcing them apart in this incredible lonely vigil. So after all that time, his job is finally done. The world has its shape. The exhausted Pangu just lies down and dies. But here's the incredible part. His death wasn't an ending at all. It was the ultimate act of creation. His entire body transformed into the world itself. His last breath? That became the wind and the clouds. His eyes became the sun and the moon. His voice, the thunder. His body became the mountains and the great rivers. The entire natural world we see is, in this story, the living legacy of his sacrifice. So Pangu gives us this incredible, magnificent world, but it's empty. The mountains are silent, the rivers flow, but there's no one there to see them. It's this beautiful, lonely stage just waiting for the actors to arrive, which really poses a pretty big question. And into this quiet world comes Nüwa, the mother goddess. She looks around at this lonely world and decides to do something about it. She kneels by a river, scoops up some of the yellow clay from the bank, and starts sculpting these tiny figures in her own image. She breathes life into them, and suddenly you have the first laughs, the first steps. Humanity is born. Now, to speed things up a bit, she takes a long cord, dips it in the wet clay, and just whips it across the land. Every single droplet that flies off springs to life as a new person. Well, this newfound peace, it didn't last long. A massive war breaks out up in the heavens between the god of water, Gong Gong, and the god of fire. And Gong Gong, in a total fit of rage after losing, just smashes his head against one of the pillars holding up the entire sky. The heavens literally crack open. Fire starts pouring out of the hole, and the waters of the cosmos begin to flood the earth, threatening to destroy everything Nüwa had just created. So Nüwa has to step in, right? She basically becomes the ultimate cosmic repair woman. She finds these 5 sacred different-colored stones, melts them all together, and uses this divine paste to patch the huge hole in the sky. Some people even say that patch is what we see as the rainbow. Then, to prop the heavens back up, she uses the 4 legs of a giant cosmic turtle. She saved the world, but the fix wasn't perfect. The sky was left permanently tilted. And this is so cool. The story says that's the mythological reason why the sun, moon, and stars all drift to the west, and why China's great rivers all flow to the southeast. Okay, so the world is saved, but it's a little broken. Humanity is just trying to survive. They need more than that, though. They need knowledge. They need a way to build a real society. And that brings us to the age of the first great teachers, these legendary sages who would show humanity how to actually live. So 2 legendary heroes step up to really build the foundations of society. On one hand, you have Fuxi. He brought the world's structure. He's the one who created the ideas of marriage and family, invented fishing nets and tools, and even developed the very first form of writing. He gave humanity order. And on the other hand, you have Shen Nong, the divine farmer. He's the one who gave humanity nourishment. He taught people how to farm, discovered medicine, and even set up the first market so people could trade. But Shen Nong's biggest contribution was medicine, and the way he figured it out is just wow. Talk about self-sacrifice. The legend says he had a transparent stomach, so he could literally watch how different plants affected his body. He went around tasting hundreds and hundreds of herbs, getting poisoned over and over again, all to figure out which ones healed and which ones harmed. That incredible, dangerous process is what laid the foundation for all of traditional Chinese medicine. All right, so people have tools, they have knowledge, but they're not unified. You've just got all these different tribes and clans, and guess what? They start fighting. It was time for a new kind of leader, not just a teacher, but someone who could bring everyone together. This is where the legendary Yellow Emperor comes in. The Yellow Emperor, or Huangdi, was an absolute genius when it came to strategy. First, he makes a clever alliance with one of his biggest rivals, the Flame Emperor. Then their combined armies go up against this terrifying warlord named Qiyu in a massive, legendary battle. And after he wins this huge battle, Huangdi doesn't just conquer, he builds. He establishes a capital city, creates a common set of laws, and starts to forge a single shared culture for all the different tribes. And a big part of his victory comes down to this amazing mix of myth and, well, technology. During that crucial battle, the warlord Qiyu created this thick, supernatural fog that completely confused Huangdi's army. They were totally lost and about to be defeated. But Huangdi rolled out his secret weapon, the south-pointing chariot. It was basically this magical compass that always pointed south, no matter what. It let his army see right through the fog, find the enemy, and win the battle that unified the nation. The nation's been forged, but the biggest test of all is still on the horizon. And it's not another army. It's nature itself, a flood of epic proportions. We're talking a flood that went on for years, swallowing everything and threatening to wash away this brand new civilization. So how do you deal with a world-ending flood? Well, the first try, led by a guy named Gun, was all about brute force. He tried to just block the water, and it failed spectacularly. It was his son Yu who had the breakthrough idea. He realized you can't fight the water, you have to guide it. Think about it. For 9 whole years, Gun has everyone building these massive dirt walls, trying to dam up the rivers. But what happens when you dam a river? The water just keeps rising. It gets higher and higher until finally, bam, the walls break and the flood that comes out is even worse than before. His whole strategy just made things 1,000 times more destructive. So Yu, having seen his father's plan fail so badly, gets it. You can't just bully a river into submission. So instead of building walls to stop the water, he gets people digging channels, carving out new pathways for the water to flow, guiding it all the way out to the ocean. He decided to work with nature, not against it. And that simple idea, it would become a cornerstone of Chinese philosophy. And the level of dedication here is just off the charts. For 13 straight years, Yu the Great leads this massive project. And he's not just sitting in a tent giving orders. He's out there, waist deep in the mud with everyone else. The most famous story about him says that he passed by his own house 3 different times over those 13 years, and he never once went inside. He could hear his own family, but his duty to his people was just too important. 13 years. Okay, so Yu's victory over the flood really is the final piece of the puzzle. These stories, as you can see, aren't just about cool gods and epic monsters. They're basically instruction manuals for a culture, embedding these really deep values right into the foundation of a civilization. After saving the entire world, Yu's job was to create a lasting order. So first, he divides the land into the 9 provinces. I mean, he knows the geography better than anyone now, right? He sets up a whole system of government, and then he does something that changes everything. Instead of passing power to another wise man, he gives it to his son. And just like that, the Shang, China's very first dynasty, is born. So when you step back and look at all these myths together, you start to see the core principles they're teaching. They're about the duty of a ruler to serve the people, like you did. They're about how the best person for the job should lead, not just the one with the right family name. They teach that working in harmony with the world is way better than trying to fight it. And maybe most of all, they teach the power of just not giving up. That incredible persistence, whether it's Pangu holding up the sky or you digging for 13 years, is the ultimate virtue. And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about. These incredible stories, born thousands and thousands of years ago, they're not just stories. They're a kind of cultural DNA, ideas that have been passed down for millennia. It really makes you wonder, for any country, for any culture, how much of who we are today is still being shaped by the ghosts of our oldest, most powerful myths.